Hey everybody, Griff Hamlin here. Welcome, thanks for joining me today. In today's video, we're going to talk about blues soloing and some different approaches. We're going to talk about basically how you solo over a blues. And there's a lot more than one right answer, so I'm going to actually go through a few different options, hopefully to sort of blend with where you're at now or where you're looking to go. Either kind of help you confirm for yourself where you're at and maybe talk about where you want to go, or if you're just getting started, this will give you some ideas. So the main thing to think about, and probably the thing that most of us are familiar with or can easily get familiar with, for one thing is the A minor pentatonic scale. It's really very, very similar to the A minor blues scale. And we have, what's commonly called box 1. And if we add the blue note, and I won't take a whole bunch of time right now to explain how that scale is played. If hopefully you're familiar with it. If not, I've done other videos where we walk through that, and it's easy to find that. And in fact, I'll see if I can remember. I have a PDF for all 5 of the boxes that I'll try to leave on a page near this video. But anyway, the main point being that scale is sort of your foundation, okay? And we have, the pentatonic version that I played, and then we have the blues scale version, the minor blues scale version. And they're basically the same, except for the one note, which is, if I start at A, C, D, D sharp or E flat, often called the flat 5. That's the blue note. E, G, A, C, D, E flat, E, G, A. And the thing about a guitar that you have to remember is that we have a lot more than one way to play a scale. We can go up to other positions, commonly called boxes. We have box 2, box 3, 4, 5, and then 1 again. Right? So we can keep going and keep going and keep going. But the main thing to remember is that a scale is not a box, and a box is not a scale. Boxes or patterns are guitar only. If you were to talk to a saxophone player and tell them to play box 1, it's not going to work. They're not going to have any idea what you're talking about. If you say, oh yeah, I'm playing an A minor blues scale, they will more than likely know exactly what you're talking about, and they'll have a completely different way to play it, and that's okay. You just have to remember that one of them is a musical concept and one is just a guitar thing, okay? So the minor pentatonic scale, the minor blues scale, is the easiest and fastest way to get started. And in fact, what I like to do is something that I call the 4-note solo pattern, because I did a video once upon a time called the 4-note solo, where literally you can take the top of box 2 and you can do an entire solo just with this, all right? If I turn on a jam track and just play a little, you hear that I can play over this all day long. And this is the idea. This is what I call level 1, or sort of the base level of soloing. The cool thing about blues is that you can use that minor pentatonic scale, however you choose to play it. Box 1, 2, 4, 5, 3, doesn't matter. However you choose to play that minor pentatonic scale, okay, any box, the house pattern, the 4-note solo pattern, doesn't matter. Does not matter how you choose to play it. But you can use that minor pentatonic scale over all of the chords. There's 3 chords in a 12-bar blues, what we call the 1, 4, and 5 chord. You can use the minor pentatonic scale over all of them, and it sounds just fine. And a lot of people never do anything but use the minor pentatonic scale over a blues all the time, and it sounds great. There's tons of music to be had in there. Check it out. All right, so see, I can play that minor pentatonic scale. I can just keep going. And of course, I was using some different patterns there to sort of show you that this can work. But that minor pentatonic scale is the only scale you absolutely need. And of course, it's helpful to have the blues version with the blue note in it, and that you know, gives you a little bit more of a bluesy sound often. But it's not a requirement. Okay, so the simplest way to go, the easiest way to go, is the minor pentatonic scale. So let's say you've been playing the minor pentatonic scale. Maybe you've been playing the minor pentatonic scale for a long time. Maybe you've got a bunch of great licks in there. You're ready to sort of liven things up a little bit, to make it sound a little bit cooler. What's the next thing that we can do? Well, the next thing, I commonly call it level 2, but you could just call it the next thing, is to add a little of what is commonly called the major blues sound. Now, the major blues sound what I'm doing here is I'm still in A, but I'm playing box 2 here. Some people call it the 3-fret down rule. Because if I take that A minor box 1 and I move it down 3 frets, it's now an F sharp minor. Well, F sharp minor and A major are relative, so now it's also A major. But I like to still stay centered around A. So instead of moving my hand, I like to stay here and just adjust which box I'm playing. So I'm using box 2. And I might drift down into box 1. But mostly I'm going to stay in this box 2 pattern. And notice that right there is the major third of my A7 chord, right? So the next question becomes, well, when can I use this amazing major sound? Only over the 1 chord. That's the only place. Over the 4 and 5 chord, it will clash. So you don't want to use it there. Okay, but it sounds great over the 1 chord. So if I put on my little looper here again and play for you, over the 1 chord, you'll hear I'll use some major sound. Over the 4 and the 5 chord, I'll use some back to the minor sound. So what you're basically going to see is me switch from box 2, again centered around that A, for a major sound, and box 1 centered around that A for a minor sound. Check it out. That's major. Now here's the 4 chord, so I'm going to go minor. Now here's major again. Turn around minor. Here's the 1 again, so I'm back to major. Here's the 4 chord, so I'm minor. Here's the 1 chord, so major again. Now minor for the 5. All right, now that right there, as I said, I kind of call that level 2 soloing. It's definitely next level soloing. It's one thing to use just the minor pentatonic or the minor blues scale the whole time. It's a whole other thing, though, to keep the chord changes going on in the back of your mind and know, okay, I'm on the 1 chord right now, and switch, you know, your whole view of your fretboard to turn it into that major point of view. It's a complete switch. So that's kind of a big deal for a lot of people. Now, those 2 levels of soloing will probably get you as far as you need to go. For most people, that, you know, that's a long ways. There's a lot of music there. And if you listen to, you know, a lot of the classic blues recordings, you know, Clapton, Freddie King, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you're not going to hear hardly anything that will step outside of that would move on to the next level. And the next level is kind of interesting because with level 2, notice that over the 1 chord, I could play my major blues sound or my minor, because right, I can always default back to my minor blues sound. So if I'm in A, I could use A major blues over the one chord, or I could use the A minor blues. And in fact, I could even mix them together, which gets even more crazy, because if I add all those notes together, there's actually a whole lot of notes there. And you get stuff like that, where you get all these, all of these notes put together, and it sounds really cool. Well, you can actually treat every chord as its own key. I'll let that sink in for a second. Meaning, over the A7 chord, over the 1 chord, I can play A major or A minor blues. Over the D7 or the 4 chord, I can play D major or D minor blues. Or default back to my A minor blues. So I've got 3 choices for that 4 chord. For the 5 chord, I can use E major minor blues together, or again, default back to my A minor blues. So I have all these different choices now. And that becomes a real, for a lot of people, a real mess. But the hardest part about it is, if I'm, thinking, right, I'm in A major, and then I'm in A minor, right? Okay, well, if I want to go to D major and minor, then I got to go up here to my D, and box 2, and box 1 for minor. And for E, box 2 for major, or box 1 for minor. Okay, well, that's just straight out way too much moving around. A, it's just not going to sound good, and B, it's, you're going all over the fingerboard trying to figure out where you are. And so what makes this idea of doing, I'll say, every chord is one even more challenging is that, generally speaking, you want to keep it all in one position. So for example, if I'm in this position, right, I've got my box 2 for my major sound and my box 1 for my minor sound. Sorry. If I go to my 4 chord, my D9, for example, I would have to use box 5, which you may not even know, for my major sound, and box 4 for my minor sound. And for my E7 or my E9, I'd probably use box 4 for my major sound, and box 3 for my minor sound. Right? So that's a whole lot of shuffling around between boxes. You got to know your boxes really, really well to do that. But does it sound cool? Absolutely it does. Check it out. Here's A major. So I'm mixing the two together. Here's the D. Here's the A again. I did something funny right there. A again. D. A. E. D. A. And of course, yeah, I might have tripped up and I might have modified a couple of little things in there. It's actually kind of hard to it's almost hard to call them out as I play them. But you hear there's just a whole lot of movement going on there if you do it that way. Now, it's a great sound, but it's definitely a higher level. And really past that, and what's interesting, by the way, is that when you combine major and minor pentatonic scales together like that, your modes automatically get included. So, you know, some people might look at, if you take A major blues and A minor blues and stick them together, they also make either an A Dorian mode adding a major third or an A mixolydian mode adding a minor third, plus the flat 5 blue note. And I know that sounds really complicated, and that's why I don't really think that way. I just think about my major and minor blues scales, and once you put them together, it covers everything else. Okay, so if you don't want to have to think mixolydian mode and Dorian mode and flat 5s adding this, that, and the other thing, just play your blues scales, and then you don't have to worry about it, okay? But it is, as you can see, quite a challenge to mix and match. Now, I have you know, plenty of materials available in courses and things if that's the kind of thing that you want to practice on. But mostly what I wanted to do in this lesson is show you the different options. And I even have a 4th level, if you're so inclined, which is where we start to add in like oddball sounds, half-whole diminished, altered sounds, you know, things like that. And I don't even have any courses on that because hardly anybody gets there. And so I think I have a video here on YouTube of the half-whole diminished scale, and that's about as far as it gets. But there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot of fun things that you can do, and there's a lot of ways to improve your playing, maybe by, you know, creeping up towards that next level. So if you find that you are consistently playing in the, you know, level 1 range, where all you're using is that minor pentatonic scale, okay, well, maybe it's time to start to add in some of the major sound. All right, Blues Guitar Unleashed covers that over the course of about the last third of it. That's pretty much all it talks about. So that's one way to handle that. There are certainly a lot of good lessons on the topic available in many places. If maybe you're already, you know, putting some of the major third in there once in a while, and now you're looking to expand into the, you know, every chord is one idea, which is definitely an undertaking, but I believe well worth it. You know, then you really have to know your boxes, and you really have to be able to play both sides of the root notes, what I call the left and the right, which is either the neck facing or the body facing from any given root note. And I have a couple of courses for that, Major Minor Blues Solos and Slow Blues Supplement, that both kind of get into that idea. But again, it's one of those things that's definitely going to take some time. You really have to know your boxes. So anyway, that being the case, I just wanted to sort of show you some of the choices. Obviously, I didn't get into how to play the boxes or how to play the minor pentatonic scale or any of that stuff, because it's not really appropriate here, and obviously we could spend all day on how to do that. But there's plenty of places to find that stuff, and I encourage you to check those things out for yourself and give them a try. Mostly it's experimenting. So have some fun with that, and I look forward to talking to you soon.